Analyzing the situation. Whatever your field, whatever your job, speaking to an audience is likely to be a fact of life. While some business and professional presentations are formal performances before large audiences, most are comparatively informal talks to a few people or a single person. Even when you create a written report, you may be asked to summarize its contents in an oral presentation, and the quality of your spoken remarks may be the measure of your success. As your career progresses, presentational speaking skills become even more important. Most people who work in organizations eventually find that their effectiveness and success depend on their ability to organize their ideas and present them effectively. Before you plan even one sentence of the actual presentation, you must think about the situation in which you will speak. You can make sure your approach is on target by considering three factors: the audience, the speaker, you, and the occasion. Having good ideas is not enough. You also have to present those ideas in a way that will connect with your audience. Asking yourself a number of questions about your listeners will help you adapt your presentation material to their interests, needs, and backgrounds. Who are the key audience members? Not all audience members are equally important. Sometimes one or two listeners have the power to approve or reject your appeal. How much do they know? A group of experts does not need to know the background information that less informed audiences would require. It is also important to ask yourself what your listeners do not know. Uninformed people or non experts will be mystified, as well as bored and resentful, unless you give them background information. When speaking to a mixed audience of experts and non experts, it is helpful to select a few key points that will help the non experts understand the topic without alienating the experts. What do they want to know? People will listen to you if you address their interests, not yours. Your listeners' job titles can give you clues about what they want to know. What are their personal preferences? Your listeners' personal idiosyncrasies can make all the difference in how your message is received. Does your audience prefer a presentation to be formal or casual, humorous or straight laced, fast paced or leisurely? Knowing these preferences can make a difference between a rousing success and an abject failure when you are giving a presentation. Which demographic characteristics are significant? A number of your listeners' measurable characteristics might suggest ways to tailor your remarks in the audience. Characteristics include gender, age, cultural background, and economic status. What size is the group? The number of listeners will govern some basic aspects of the presentation plan. How many copies of a handout should you prepare? How large must your visuals be so that everyone can see them? How much time should you plan for a question and answer session? With a large audience, you usually need to take a wider range of audience concerns into account. Your delivery and choice of language will tend to be more formal, and your listeners are less likely to interrupt with questions or comments. What are the listener's attitude? You need to consider two sets of attitudes when planning your presentation. The first is your audience's attitude toward you as the speaker. If listeners feel hostile or indifferent, your approach will not be the same as the one you would take if they were excited to hear from you. In addition to listeners' feelings about you, the audience's attitude about your subject should influence your approach. One way to discover your audience's attitudes and to gain the audience's approval of your idea is to meet with the listeners before your presentation. In addition to making personal contacts, you often can research your audience's attitudes online. No two presentations are alike. While you can learn to be a better speaker by listening to other speakers, a good presentation is rather like a good hairstyle or a sense of humor. What suits someone else might not work for you. When developing your presentation, be considerate of three factors. Your goal. The first question to ask yourself is why you are speaking. Your knowledge. It is best to speak on a subject about which you have considerable knowledge. If you find yourself in a situation where you may need more information, do not lull yourself into a false sense of security by thinking you know enough. It is better to over-prepare now than to look like a fool later. Your feelings about the topic. Research shows that sincerity is one of the greatest assets a speaker can have. When you are excited about a topic, your delivery improves. Your voice becomes more expressive, your movements are more natural, and your face reflects your enthusiasm. Even a complete understanding of your audience will not give you everything you need to plan an effective presentation. You also need to adapt your remarks to fit the circumstances of your presentation. Facilities. Adapt the layout of a room to suit the speaking situation. Regardless of the arrangement you choose, you need to consider some important issues. Will there be enough seating for all your listeners? Why, or what type of equipment is available for you to use? Will there be distracting background noises? Answering questions like these is critical, and failure to anticipate facility problems can trip you up in a crucial moment. Time. There are at least two considerations related to time when making a presentation. The first is the time of day when you will be speaking. A straightforward, factual speech that would work well with an alert, rested audience at 10 a.m. might need to be more entertaining or empathetic to hold everyone's attention if delivered just before quitting time. Second, in addition to taking the hour of day into account, you need to consider the length of time you have to speak. Most business presentations are brief. Sometimes the length of your talk will not be explicitly dictated, but the lack of formal limits does not mean you should speak as long as you'd like. Context. The context of your message also influences what you say or how you say it. Current events could also affect what you say or how you say it.